wish to proffer my sincere apology to His Excellency the President Nana Adwoa, the Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Baumia, the Chief of Staff Honorable Frema Osei Opari, the Majority Leader and the entire leadership of Parliament, my colleague members of Parliament, the entire Majority Caucus, the leadership of our great party, the National Chairman and the General Secretary, together with all your executives, the regional executives of Greater Accra, the constituency executives of Dome-Pabenya, led by Chairman Bonsu, all polling station executives. I wish to state that I'm sincerely sorry. I apologize for my actions and inactions. None of my actions were intentional, deliberate, or calculated to bring disrepute to our great party. I was going through a lot as a mother and as a woman. I want to take this opportunity to ask for your forgiveness for anything untoward that I have done to bring the name of the party into disrepute. As the saying goes, to err is human and to forgive is divine. I ask for your forgiveness. My name is Adwoa Safo, the Member of Parliament for the good people of Dome-Pabenya. Thank you. I wish to proffer my sincere apology to His Excellency the President Nana Adwoa, the Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Baumia, the Chief of Staff Honorable Frema Osei Opari, the Majority Leader and the entire leadership of Parliament, my colleague members of Parliament, the entire Majority Caucus, the leadership of our great party, the National Chairman and the General Secretary, together with all your executives, the regional executives of Greater Accra, the constituency executives of Dome-Pabenya, led by Chairman Bonsu, all polling station executives. I wish to state that I'm sincerely sorry. I apologize for my actions and inactions. None of my actions were intentional, deliberate, or calculated to bring disrepute to our great party.
So that's Sarah Adwoa Safo, Member of Parliament for the Dome-Pabenya constituency there. Well, apologizing and wants to have another bite at being the parliamentary candidate for the NPP in the Dome-Pabenya constituency. I still have my guest with me in studio and on Zoom. Professor Ransford Gyampo, Dr. John Osai-Kwapong, Richard Ahiagba, Honorable Hassan Sweeney, and lawyer Martin Pebo. Hassan Sweeney.
Yes.
So
I see that you want to move us on to the next topic of Adwoa Safo. And well, her apology is also related to the registration exercise because clearly it is about her desire to still represent her people in the constituency, I mean in Parliament. But you see, I was on a point, if you permit me to just land on it, then I will speak on this Adwoa Safo thing. You see, I was talking about the EC's own laws that they brought to Parliament and the people's representatives approved for them and how they are supposed to go by it. Now, the decision to limit the registration to their district officers beats, you know, one's imagination why they will want to go against their own regulations. Because the district office is not a voting center. The district office is not accessible to so many people in this country. And so, why will they want to do that? And then, this is not just reduced to talking. Like some people will say, then if it is illegal, why don't you go to court? Why don't you use the law to stop them? And that is where I will want to repeat the point I made earlier, that look, all good governance architecture in this country seem to have been corrupted and corroded. Because why will we go to court? And then, first of all, you are told by the registrar that the Chief Justice says you can't get a date until she's around. In this age, 2023, because she's available, you cannot get a date for a hearing. Then you have another suit that has been filed and served the Electoral Commission. Yet they ignore it and they continue with their exercise. Only months ago, you recall, Alfred, only months ago, in May, when the NDC was going to conduct its internal, flag bearership race, The same Electoral Commission, on the basis of a suit that was filed by one of the aspirants, Dr. Kobna Dufo, announced to the whole world that they were unable to conduct elections for the NDC. They were unable to supervise the elections because one of the aspirants had filed a suit, an injunction. The same injunction that, or similar injunction that has been filed against them, as far as this exercise is concerned, it's not stopping them from doing that. I mean, from going ahead. So you cannot, for the life of, and when you speak, and I'll end on this note, when you say that, like you said, Council, that this whole exercise is deliberately structured to voter suppress, people say, to whose benefit?
Right.
Look, any political scientist or researcher will tell you that when you make voter registration as difficult as they have done, you limit the opportunity for people with less incomes.
Okay.
People who are deprived, you limit their opportunity to get to register.
Okay.
Because you see, I will not pay to transport myself 100 kilometers. I can't even pay. Meanwhile, the researchers again will tell you that the less privileged, the underprivileged, have a higher tendency of voting against a party in government. Okay. Are you getting it? Those who are less privileged, those with low incomes, have a higher tendency to vote against a party in government. So if the structure is skewed to limit those people or to disadvantage them, then you know that that is gerrymandering. That is rigging already in operation before the election starts. And so I think that we need to speak out before, you know, our democracy loses the luster, the clout that it has. Let's speak out. The Electoral Commission must be called out, and that intransigence position that they have taken over the years must change so that we can protect our democracy. As for Adwoa Safo, what can one say? I mean,
at the point you, the minority, defended her.
Not
when the NPP majority was asking
we
that her seat be declared vacant.
I personally can speak to the position that I took. And I think that's the position that many of us in the minority took. A principle was defended that she needed to be given the hearing, and all avenues had to be explored to make it possible for her to be heard before a decision was taken on her. Because the laws, you know, are clear that if you absent yourself for 14 days, you are given a hearing. You can have a good reason why you absent yourself. In the absence of a good reason, that is when your seat is declared vacant. And personally, I recall that when the NPP wanted her to be present for some critical votes, they managed to get her to be present for those critical votes. And so it was not acceptable, in my view, for a whole committee of parliament to suggest that they could not, you know, make it possible for her to appear before them. And because, according to them, she refused to appear before them, they wanted to conclude in a certain way. And I thought that was not fair. I thought that they should have explored other, you know, options, you know, to give her the opportunity to give the reasons why she was absent. Now, she has thought it wise to apologize to her party, to her constituents, and to, you know, Ghanaians in general. It is up to people.
Some people are saying no, Ghanaians are not included, so they don't want us to even comment.
Well,
that's what somebody is telling me here.
Yes, so and to some extent I agree, because in my view, I remember saying once that I didn't know what she had on the president. Because, I mean, for the president to have left a whole ministry, even for her, for that long, I mean, I just couldn't understand. It was
you understand when President Kufuor
leaves. A naked video of the president.
Yeah, that's why you see close.
I just couldn't understand.
Closer.
You know, but well, she has rendered the apologies up to the good people of Ghana and her constituents to decide what they want to do with that apology. Personally, I am indifferent.
Okay, well, Dr. John Osako, I mean, this goes to the heart of representation, is it not? Which is the most fundamental duty of a member of parliament, that representational role. And beyond the apology, there are concerns that, yes, I mean, the party, we understand, have accepted the apology, but does it end there? Especially because of the absence and how that deprived her constituents and indeed the Ghanaian people of her services as a member of parliament.
Right, and that was, you know, one of the most worrying parts of that whole period. Yes, you know, she, from reports, from what she herself said, she had personal challenges, and nobody would take that, you know, from a family member, a mother, etc., who is facing some personal challenges, therefore making it difficult to, you know, execute her official duties. But at the same time, when you think of, you know, how long both her ministry as well as her ability to represent, you know, the people of Kwabenya just sort of went vacant, right, is not a practice that augurs well for good governance. Yes, she has come out to apologize to, you know, to the party, to her constituents, and I mean, ultimately, I guess it's up to the, you know, the people of Dome Kwabenya to decide, you know, what they do with that apology. I'm sure she wants to go for re-election in 2024, and if there's, you know, so the primary would determine, and then the end result of the, you know, final parliamentary election would decide whether the constituencies, you know, the people in the constituency decide or choose to forgive her or not. But you also don't want to make this, you know, a habit, right? You don't want to endorse the practice of, you know, a member of parliament going AWOL, you know, for that long and depriving his or her people of representation in parliament.
Well, in fact, when this matter came up before Parliament, when she was sent to the Privileges Committee, and then the outcome of the committee's decision was put before Parliament, the Speaker had to take a decision on that matter. There are many people who are surprised about the NDC's position on this, but then Alassane Soyini has explained why they took that principled position to defend her, because of precedents and other issues, and some other persons as well who had absented themselves within that same period and how they were treated. But does that take away the essence, the impact of her absence, and whether this apology is going to make any difference at all?
Well, so Mr. Kansi, as I've already stated, some people are saying to the extent that the apology did not or was not cut to extend to the general population, we shouldn't even be giving this apology any currency. We shouldn't be giving it more traction because they expected her to apologize to the whole nation as well. But the other side too is that in practice, you see that her absence aided the minority, isn't it? And actual fact, is that not the case at the time? As she was absent, it reduced the ability of the president to, the majority to be able to carry on their business, right? Is that also even at the time of the e-levy and all that, right? So in a way, it actually helped our democracy. Yes, so that's what...
Her absence helped the democracy.
Yeah, because, you know, the e-levy, the minority was able to challenge it for about 5 months altogether, delay it for about 5 months. And Adwoa Safo's absence was one of the contributing factors. So when history is being written, even though she was absent, but the absence gave us a lot more help. Because don't forget, this is a country where about 3 million of our people live on less than 24 Ghana cedis a day. That's the World Bank standard, that poverty. People who live on less than $1.90. And if I convert generously, I'll put it at 24 this in Ghana cedis. So with the coming of the e-levy, it was going to even make the situation worse. Because if you were sending, you see now, when you send even 100 Ghana, you are deducted, right, for the e-levy. Right? So when it was coming, you know, the way the government was feeling gung-ho about it and everything, Adwoa Safo's absence helped. So to that extent, it's just like the way for Christians, you say you don't like Judas, right? But if Judas hadn't played his role, if he hadn't betrayed Jesus, how are you going to be
saved?
saved? You say, so that's the same way you should look at Adwoa Safo. Adwoa Safo is like Judas, okay? Judas Iscariot. So let's look at it that way. So, but
she wasn't only absent as a member of parliament, but as a minister as well.
Yeah, and that one, yes. So I have a different argument for it. The president was supposed to change it. But, I mean, the president wasn't doing it. That's why I buy into Honorable Suini's argument that why does she have a naked video of president? It's a question. That's why. That's Adwoa Safo have Mampam. That's Adwoa Safo have a naked video of Mampam. Why was Mampam refusing to change her? You know, it caused a lot of consternation, a lot. It's as if she was the best talent we had in Ghana. And so if she wasn't there, then it was nobody else could do the job. You know, it's all part of President Kufuor's this intransigence, Mampam, the
so
Mampam
they've had
effect.
others also make the argument that the president didn't sack her because that was more like her own bait or her position, so that she can also use that as a way of also, as it were, claiming some level of influence and getting her to come in to help government business in parliament, because if he had sacked her, then ultimately she's out of parliament. Then the president would actually lose that support to push through the policies. The
So he was doing for parochial interest, right?
That's
where I agree with you to some extent, that this government doesn't know the difference between good governance and good politics. I mean, they may get the politics right, and they usually do, but it's mostly to the disadvantage of improving good governance in this country, because it is only for partisan reasons that the president would have been careful to dismiss her. Otherwise, if you were running a corporate institution and your worker or manager behave that way, you will not think twice about dismissing the person. But if you are too concerned about how politically correct that decision is, then good governance will suffer.
Okay, so I should go on. Yeah,
round it up for me.
So that decision, and also let's not forget, in a way, you remember President Kufuor had too many ministers, and till date, still too many, right? Yeah, so if it were even that in her absence, she wouldn't be paid, and all that, then would have said, oh, it's good he didn't take any decision on it. But to the extent that she was still being paid and the rest, so he was, like Honorable Sui, he was doing politics. But he forgets. You see, one thing we should always remember is that this September, right? The year is almost out. Next year, President Kufuor will answer for all of this. Yeah, when he's leaving office, he will answer for all of this, even to the extent that I will be asking that he be prosecuted. Yeah, for the corruption and all those things. Yeah. So he should think about it. As for the corruption, he will face it. Prosecution, or will be leading the charges. You see how the
you'll be
immunity,
leading the charge.
Yeah, the immunity the Constitution grants is not for crime, not for your personal aggrandizement. It says when you do the work in good faith. So the immunity is for the things that he's done to move Ghana forward. But all the corruption will ask that he be prosecuted.
So also when you push that argument about about the politics of it, you would also have the minority's position on this matter also being brought to question, is it not? That yes, it was to your interest that she still stays out, because then the NPP had less numbers.
No, it was in that regard, Alfred. It was in the interest of good governance, and that's where I agree with counsel. Because one of the ingredients of good governance is for the executive to be held accountable. And so if you had a position that was popular with the people, in this case, people were against the e-levy. All the research that people conducted, including the University of Ghana conducted, showed that the e-levy was unpopular. And you had the opposition amplifying the voices of the people.
But
and
her absence
made it possible for the people's views to hold sway. That's what good governance is all about.
Also violated the rules of Parliament.
How?
Even not granting audience to the Privileges Committee of Parliament when they called on her.
So the absence,
many
the violation was the reason why the member of parliament for North Tongue, Honorable Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, raised, which necessitated the speaker to put up a committee, because that violation is a conditional one. It is not automatic that when you absent yourself from parliament for 14 days, you are dismissed. Your seat is declared vacant. It says that unless you have a good reason for absenting yourself, so the processes that will determine the reason was kicked in motion. But she was not able to appear before that, committee. And I personally was of the view that the committee didn't do enough
Was it that
to
she
get
wasn't
her to
able, or
appear.
she just refused?
Because
not
you see,
to?
the committee has the powers of, I think, a high court.
Yes.
A committee of parliament has the powers of a high court. They could have even subpoenaed her.
Okay.
They didn't do all of that.
You see,
and so I was of the view that they did not exhaust all the means they had to get her to appear. And so to conclude on the matter was not
you see,
going to be fair.
it would be different. For example, let me bring it. It would be different to say maybe she was unable to, or she refused to. There are two different things, because within that period, she was seen on TikTok and all of that, So then questions were asked about whether she was really unable to, or she just refused not to appear or attend to the privileged committee's or invitation on this. But Professor Gyampo, let me bring you in on this matter, please.
Well, thank you. I think given the level of my disappointment with this particular President of the Republic, I would always subject him to critical scrutiny. I will do so with every sweat that I have in me. But Martin, with the greatest of respect to you, I don't think it's right for us to continue to refer to President Akufo-Addo as Mampam. I don't, given the office that he occupies. Let's subject him under critical scrutiny, but then without the name. If we can take that out.
Let Professor Gyampo.
No, but what is he saying?
Professor Gyampo.
I want to hear what.
Yes. Professor Gyampo.
Yeah.
You are off. Yeah.
Can I go on?
Yes, Professor Gyampo.
Yes, so I'm saying that let us criticize the president, but then let us respect the office that he occupies, because anybody could occupy that office. And in our critique, I think the name calling about Mampam and all, I mean, they are not, it's not a professional way of looking, an intellectual way of describing things. And so let us take away the name calling. Now, let us come to Adwoa Safo. She said she was going through a lot as a mother, and for me, having been raised by a single parent, if a mother tells you that I was going through a lot, it touches me. Even though I had a father, I was raised singly by my mother, and it was difficult. So it touches me. But the question I keep asking myself, going through the apology that she's rendered, is what at all was she going through that her own party didn't know? What at all was she going through that her constituents didn't know? And what at all was she going through that the nation wasn't aware of? What she is saying to us now, vis-a-vis what we saw her do on TikTok, go contrary to each other. So you're going through a lot, and you are seen on TikTok having fun. It becomes difficult because, for once, I thought that she had given up the hope or the idea of continuing as a member of parliament and then also as a minister. I thought she had given these responsibilities up. And so it makes me think that maybe this apology is an afterthought. But, well, be that as it may, we want to look at her, put the apology aside. If the party says they've accepted, I mean, it is up to them. But you see, the idea of representation is not about begging. You don't beg to serve. Representation is tripod. First of all, you must act in a manner responsive to constituent interests. That's number one. Number 2, you must project your party's interest. Number 3, you must project the national interest. And so, any decision as to whether she would continue to serve as a member of parliament or not, shouldn't be contingent on her apology, whether it is from a contrite heart or it is a mere afterthought. I mean, this shouldn't be determining whether she will continue as an MP. If she must continue as an MP, the constituents must determine how best she has been able to serve their interests over the last 4 years. It's the constituent who must make that decision. You drive through the constituents, you drive around that area, and you hear all manner of people, of comments from the people in their own area. I don't know whether you know her, Domi Kwabenya, well, but because of the area that I live on campus, I easily will be driving there, and you hear all manner of comments. And so it is up to the constituents to decide whether she has been able to act in a manner responsive to their interest. Number 2, the party itself must also decide whether she has been able to serve their interest well. Number 3, the whole nation. We must also be in a position to judge whether she's been a good MP or not. If she's able to pass these 3 tests, then maybe her apology would be the icing on the cake. But if she's not been able to do that, then I'm sorry. Don't forget that she's going to have Gabo around, Michael Kwe Jr., who lost narrowly to her in the last parliamentary primaries of the MPP in that constituency. And given all that have happened, this would play up in their primaries. And so it is. I am sad for her, but at the same time, I feel that she didn't treat her own people well.
Right.
If you are going through a lot as a mother, then your public posturing and appearance and the kinds of things you do in the public must be in sync with what you are going through, so that we will all be able to sympathize with you. But at a point in time, it appeared that she was actually making mockery of Ghana's democracy. She was also making mockery of the fiduciary trust that her own people had confided in her.
Okay.
And so, if you've done all these things, and today you are coming to say all these things, well, the people should examine their own life. They should share their system. They should look into their own life, and then the physical quality of their life. And then, please stop the right. Let me finish.
Yes. Round up for me. For example, round up for me. Round up. Yes, round up, please.
Okay. So the point is that let the people themselves examine how well they think she has served their interest, and let the decision to forgive or the decision to allow her to go back to Parliament be contingent on the quality of representation she's giving to the people.
Okay, thank you, Professor Gyampo. Richard Ahiagba is still with us on the telephone. Can you hear me? Hello, Mr. Ahiagba, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Alfred. Can you hear me?
Yes. So now you indicated you've accepted Adwoa Safo's apology as a political party, correct? So after the apology accepted, then what next?
Well, thank you, Alfred. I don't blame you, but I blame myself for not being in the studio, because I think I suffer a lot of disadvantage when I try to make a point.
Yeah,
cut off.
Well,
but it's okay. Next time I'll make sure that I'm in the studio.
Okay, indeed.
Alfred, let me make this humble plea, and I want to thank Professor Gyampo, because I've noted to come back to that point. My senior brother, Martin Kebu, I think that TV3...
So that point, I think, has been cleared up and addressed.
No. I'm the Director of Communication for the New Patriotic Party, the party of the President. I think I reserve the right to make a comment on this matter. I think that Media General will have to exercise some responsibility to its viewers and listeners in taking a decision on Martin Kebu's continuous presence on this platform and his propensity to insult the president at will and this government, characterize it in ways that is completely unacceptable and unexemplary. I think that we need to have a decision from Media General on this matter. And I'll leave it there. Look, I think the MP for Dominicana has apologized, and I think that she made an appropriate point to say that all of us can err and all of us deserves forgiveness. The political ramifications of what she has done in her constituency, whether or not her constituents will consider having her represent them, that's a matter of democracy, a matter of their choice to exercise their franchise. But as a party, I am not aware of anything that constrains her currently. I'm speaking to our disciplinary procedures as allowed by our Constitution. I don't know about any disciplinary measures that have been instituted against her at the constituency level. And so therefore, there isn't anything in the wisdom of the party in Dominicana that has come up to the point where they have thought that maybe she needed to be disciplined and therefore cited. So on account of that, I think that she's a human being. And I think what is profound in what she said, that she was going through things as a mother. And I think that those things as a man, there's very little we know about that. I have had instances where people having given birth had some serious complications, things that will be confounding to you. You see it and you think it's a simple thing, it's something that should be resolved. But there's a lot that happens in the woman's world that as men we might not be able to know. So I think that she's come around full circle, and her apology as human, as we all are. I think that we need to exercise our humanity in supporting her. But as to whether that gives any political advantage, I think that it is for a constituents to determine.
Okay, it's for the constituents to decide whether this will give any political advantage or not. Thank you, Mr. Angba. Then also to put it on record that for us here at Media General, we exercise that editorial right to decide on who comes on this platform or otherwise. And it is that editorial right that we consistently exercise in bringing lawyer Martin Kpebu on this platform. And for you as a political party, you cannot dictate or decide who comes on this platform and what the person says. And if there is any indication of he being reined in consistently on this platform, I have done that. That is just to put it on record and to respond to the issues that you put out earlier. Thank you. We'll be back shortly after this quick break. Stay with us.